Hey everybody, welcome to Monday. I apologize if this video ends up being shorter. Then hey, maybe it'll work out. Some people like shorter, but I've just had a really long day and I'm making sure I get content out. But I was actually on Nerdette's newscast. Tristan, thanks for having me on. And we were talking about just stuff and IP, and it was this wide-ranging conversation. And we were talking about the lack of new ideas in the comic book space. And after I got off the very lovely conversation with Tristan and Bianca, who had just met, it was awesome. 3 women talking about nerdy stuff. I started thinking about where are the new IPs coming from? And they're coming from video games. Video games are the only medium that is consistently and reliably creating new, lasting IPs. And that's really important. And I don't think the gaming industry gives itself enough credit for that. So if you like this sort of thing, help support this channel, become a monthly patron, patreon.com/LeannaK. Now, there's another phenomenon affecting gaming that I think matters when we talk about this. And it's a gaming doesn't get enough credit thing as well. I know I'm a broken record about this, but I really believe that gaming is the most creative medium out there right now. Fight me. But we see headlines like this. This was in the Wall Street Journal over the weekend. Apple doesn't make video games, but it's the hottest player in gaming. And they're talking about the multiplayer space, right? And here's the thing about the multiplayer space. Some multiplayer games can get really good lore, right? They made a Warcraft movie. It wasn't very good, right? That's not because the lore was bad. That's because the adaptation was not great. But straight up multiplayer doesn't tend to create the really original IPs that become sort of the crossover hits of tomorrow, because they're very derivative. I mean, they tried to do some linear stuff in the Halo universe. It didn't do that great. We'll see how the Uncharted movie does. Video game to film adaptations have traditionally not been good. I do not believe that's because the IPs are not movie worthy. I believe that's because film and television look down on video games as an art form and a storytelling medium, and the video game industry lets them. And so Nintendo will co-produce a Mario movie with Illumination and have Chris Pratt as Mario. Assassin's Creed, Ubisoft will co-produce an Assassin's Creed movie that just seems to be apologizing for being an Assassin's Creed movie the whole time. They just let Hollywood just run roughshod over them. We'll see how the Last of Us series does. I mean, those games were as much movies as games to begin with, but are they going to change the story? Is it just going to be not worth watching for those of us that like the first game? I don't know. I don't terribly care at this moment. But this inferiority complex that gaming has, when we keep giving away our power to HBO or to, some movie company or Apple, which doesn't actually make games, it means when there is sort of an adaptation, we don't fight to make it good, right? We don't go, no, you can't just change this to make it a movie. You can't just change this to appeal to modern audiences. Like, no, what we make is good. It's popular. That's why you want to adapt it. Please keep the core fundamentals of this IP intact. That's why you bought it, right? Now, I think that some of the stuff that Epic Games, for instance, has done to chip away at Apple's financial lock on, these sort of free-to-play multiplayer spaces is important for that, because if game companies don't have to give away as much money to these third-party things, they're not going to give away as much power. But that's not going to necessarily solve the issue of the inferiority complex in gaming. We have to stop thinking of what games were in, the PS2 and original Xbox era, which, hey, remember the cinematic game was a big, oh, that's what we want to be ages ago. You remember those super long cutscenes and all that stuff, and people who wanted to be movie makers but ended up in games, they just, oh, wow, I really want to be making movies, or I really want to be making TV shows, but I'm doing this. We're not there anymore. We're getting to the point where more people of adult age have grown up with video games than haven't. If we're not there yet, we are getting there very soon. And so having to explain video games to people, I mean, the success of the Free Guy movie, even though that movie just isn't the way video games work, people got the concept. They got the conceit. Everything did not have to be spoon-fed to the audience, right? People know this stuff enough to, even stuff with Ready Player One and all that stuff. You don't have to explain this stuff to that core movie-going audience. It's like a video game is not the insult it once was. And this is where I go back to new IP. Toy companies aren't developing new IP anymore. TV shows continue to reboot concepts from the 80s onward. They're rebooting CSI, for fuck's sake. Movies, everything's borrowed from something else. Netflix series are all pre-existing IPs. The only media creating new IP on a regular basis is video games. I repeat, the only modern medium regularly creating new IP is video games. And this is super important going forward, because Tristan and I were talking on the stream about how it took 10 years for Miles Morales to sort of be culturally accepted, from when, Brian Michael Bendis created him to when he's in everything, into the Spider-Verse, got his own standalone game, whatever. This is what happens. These IPs adapt and grow. And yes, the Uncharted franchise got turned into a movie relatively quickly. Let's hope it's better than any of the Tomb Raider movies were. There is no excuse for a Tomb Raider movie to be that bad, other than it's a video game. It's a video game has to stop being synonymous with stupid, right? And that's only going to happen if the rights holders to these video game franchises stop thinking of them as straight up business decisions, a little extra chunk of change on the side, or, oh, we want more people to be aware of this brand, so we're going to make a movie because it allegedly reaches way more people. I'm skeptical of that approach. Look at the Assassin's Creed movie, right? I think that unless the movie's good, exposing other people to your IP is not going to make you want to play the games. My friend's kid is really into Assassin's Creed right now, but he started with Rogue. And so I went and bought him a used copy of Black Flag for like $5 because I'm like, dude, this is going to make a lot more sense if you play this first. So like, go back to it. But it's that word of mouth. It's that recommendations from social circles that are going to bring people into these gaming franchises. And once you've got them, I mean, oh my God, he's got so much Assassin's Creed to play now, right? Similar to these HBO franchises and these movies, what we know, and we've known this for a while, is that the average person does not you know, go see a Captain America movie and then buy a Captain America comic. They just go see the movie. Same with, they'll go see an Uncharted movie. They won't necessarily play the game. Gamers game, viewers watch, readers read, right? It doesn't work the way they're claiming. What you want is the IP. The way Batman is in comic books and TV shows and movies and video games. And does everybody play all of them? Hell no. That's why Batman is in comic books and TV shows, live action and otherwise, movies. It's all over the place. Spider-Man is the same way now. You know, they tried with Avengers, but that game was not good. And maybe, you know, Guardians of the Galaxy will do the same thing. The reason, you know, why there's never been a Wonder Woman game, I have no fucking clue. But can we please change that? Maybe DC wants too much for the rights. But, you know, Batman is an IP. Superman is an IP. Iron Man, Captain America, they are IP. But you gotta make good adaptations of that IP for it to continue to percolate. Well, this pains me to say, but people are already getting superhero fatigue, like DC and Marvel's superhero fatigue. And people, you can only redevelop old 80s TV shows so fast. I mean, shit, they rebooted the Wonder Years. I'm actually kind of interested in that one. But eventually, because movies and television and comic books and toy companies have been so fucking lazy, the only place to draw from is gonna be video games, because we got cool shit like Ghost of Tsushima and Horizon Zero Dawn / Forbidden West, and, you know, shit, they keep trying to make Mortal Kombat movies that aren't very good. There's no excuse for that. And so on and so on and so on. These cool gaming IPs. Assassin's Creed should have been a better movie. Tomb Raider should have been a better movie. Eventually they will make a decent movie in these franchises, as long as Square Enix doesn't totally bury Tomb Raider with shitty, boring pray and spray games. I said that out loud. But game companies have got to start respecting their IP. They have got to start going, no, this is valuable. Like Batman, like Superman. We're not going to take your word for no, trust us. We know how to make this a movie. No, trust us. This is our IP. These are our core fundamentals. These things, if you change them, they are no longer this IP. And that Alicia Vikander Tomb Raider movie was worse than either of the Angelina Jolie movies. And I don't think anybody involved with it knows why, and I think they're making another one because it did well enough. And if the Tomb Raider brand is so fucking strong that shitty movie gets a sequel just on the strength of the brand because people are interested, what is that saying? Right? They're making a freaking Injustice animated movie. That's a spin-off of a thing based on a thing, right? Like, Injustice is a video game creation, even though it's DC Comics. The universe was created for a video game that then became a comic that's now becoming an animated movie. These IP are powerful. They matter. People like them. The goal is to stop just it's a video game movie, it's gonna be shit. Like, don't give up. Game companies should be treating this as the way Stan Lee treated, his characters when he created them. These are gonna be on the big screen someday. He believed in the inherent value of his characters, and he just waited and waited and waited until that cake baked, and then look what happened. But he believed intrinsically. Whenever you heard him talk about it, he was all in. He was a true believer, right? In Spider-Man, in Thor, in like all these things that people dismissed as silly and vapid. And he was right. Game companies have to do the same thing and stop bowing to these film companies. They have to demand that the script be great before they agree to the rights. And I don't know why Sony isn't using Sony Pictures to develop more of their first party stuff. I mean, maybe they're being careful with God of War. I don't know. I think God of War has been around for so long, most people don't actually remember that early Kratos story. I remind people that it starts with him trying to take his own life because he is so in despair. People are like, what? Yeah, that was the first God of War movie. Now, people equate God of War now with Norse stuff. That doesn't mean they can't develop the original Greek stories for film. And it's been enough time. Maybe they can tweak it. Maybe they can do some interesting things. Maybe they can do some like even cooler monster designs because those graphics are a little bit dated now. Of course, they won't be able to do the whole game, and it'll be interesting to see how they adapt it. Because the thing about a video game, unlike a TV show that is made into a movie or like a comic book that's made into a movie, there's just so much more content, except for, comic stories that try to combine 30 years of continuity. I don't think that's a good idea. Right? Pick one story, go with it. Pick a plot line, go with it. Tell that. But the IP owners of the games of today are going to be sitting really pretty in about 10 years when all this current stuff has burned out. I mean, look at all the Witcher stuff on Netflix, right? Granted, that started as books, but let's face it, it was the games that really made it. But, I don't think superhero stuff, like DC Marvel stuff, will ever quite go away. I think it will become far less dominant. I think Star Wars will become far less dominant. And these streaming services and these movie companies and TV networks are all going to be looking around for something to adapt because they seem to hate making original stuff. And all that's going to be left are video game IPs. And if video game companies are smart, like Stan Lee was, they'll start preparing for that now. And we need to stop looking for approval from other media because they're never going to give it to us because they don't want us to know what we got. We have to stop looking for approval from other media and start pointing out, hey, all of y'all that insist there are no new ideas out there, so we'll just keep recycling the current ones. Look, we're making new ideas. Nobody can say Horizon Zero Dawn was not a new idea. Was it a combination of pre-existing things? Yes, but it was still a new idea, right? Still a new idea. God of War was a new idea, even though it draws on Greek myth, and so on and so forth, Let's hold our heads up and let's take some fucking pride in the output in this industry, and let's let Hollywood come to us instead of continuing to just supplicate and please adapt our stuff. We're going to totally fuck up the Last of Us franchise for HBO, I'm being facetious there, but that Assassin's Creed movie, there was a much better movie in there. They needed to do reshoots, keep all the stuff from the past, reshoot all the stuff in the present, and it would have been okay. But, oh no, this has to be a movie. We need Michael Fassbender, and we need a very serious French actress. No, you don't. You could have put The Rock in that fucking thing, and it would have been a better movie. The Rock as a pirate, Black Flag, boom, Assassin's Creed movie. Right? Throw in Owen Wilson somewhere. People will like it. People want to see it. They put The Rock in Jungle Cruise to update a Disney ride that the whole reason you go on Jungle Cruise is it's embrace the fact that the ride is shitty. Let's just be proud of this accomplishment. Let's give ourselves pats on the back, not just for being entertaining, but actually creating new ideas in the space of art. And people roll their eyes and go, I don't want games to be art. I don't mean art like, oh, fuck, some snooty pants movie that wins awards and nobody sees. I'm talking about art the way the original Iron Man movie was art. That's what I'm talking about. That's what games are. And the lack of new IP in other places, because yes, IP development is expensive. I think it also says something about the consumer base in gaming that it will sample new IP. Now, sequels are still easier to market. That's true. That's why there's so many damn sequels in gaming. But gamers, at least gamers, not consumers of games, but gamers, the core demographic, we will sample a new IP and we will tell people about it. And we will, how many years was I going on about Alan Wake? Thank you. We just had a whole, I was going through some used games and they had some Sly Coopers and they had The Darkness, really good comic book adaptation. We were talking about how great The Darkness was as a game. It was this retro game seller. And they're sitting there. The IPs are sitting there. Granted, that's not original, but Sly Cooper is. Holy crap, Sly Cooper's gotta come back. If we got like Detective Pikachu in this stuff, Sly Cooper's gotta come back. Ryan Reynolds could voice Sly Cooper, no problem. Not Chris Pratt. Please not Chris Pratt. Don't let Chris Pratt voice anything that isn't Lego ever again. Thank you. But you know what I mean? Like, we need to stop acting like the kids that were picked on, even though we are. We were. And start treating games like a serious, defined, legitimate entertainment medium. Period. End of story. Because we're the only ones making new stuff. All right? All right. Help support this channel. Become a monthly patron. Patreon.com/LeannaK. Thanks for watching.